begins. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi changing her tune on a man she called an icon on Sunday. Yeah, on one of the Sunday shows, she called Conyers an icon. Now the House Minority Leader says the allegations against Democratic Congressman John Conyers is, quote, unacceptable and disappointing, but only after meeting with one of the five accusers, one named Melanie Sloan. Ms. Sloan said that Conyers would criticize her appearance and even attended a meeting in his underwear. Meanwhile, another woman has come forward saying Conyers made repeated unwanted sexual advances towards her. The former staffer told the Detroit News, quote, I didn't report the harassment because it was clear nobody wanted to take it seriously. John Conyers is a powerful man in Washington and nobody wanted to cross him. So shouldn't Nancy Pelosi be calling on this man to resign? Why aren't more Democrats doing that? Joining me right now, Patrice Lee Onwuka. She's a senior policy analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. And Patrice, it's good to see you. And I guess this is just hypocrisy perhaps at its best. Because, as long as someone's a Democrat, apparently it doesn't matter how he treats women. Nancy Pelosi isn't willing to call for his resignation?
I mean, it's ironic. And what's really interesting here is that Democrats have tried to hide, to perch on the moral high ground when it came to sexual harassment allegations until these allegations came forward within their own ranks. Mm-hmm. And she's lost that. I think her comments this weekend were more of a flub, if anything else, and it exposes that, they may be willing to sacrifice the justice for women and the rights for women and the protections for women if it means they can hold on to political power, and that's not acceptable.
It's always been that way, though, right? I mean, you think back to Bill Clinton and the likes of Gloria Steinem coming out, the feminist with a capital F, they're supporting Bill Clinton despite what we all knew.
Yeah, this is not the first time we're seeing this. But, I think Democrats, they've kind of pushed some of those allegations aside or downplayed them, only now acknowledging that those victims were actual victims and they had real stories to tell. Mm-hmm. But Americans are paying attention. HuffPost poll out just today, both Democrats and Republican voters, recognize that there's a problem. And I think they actually recognize there's a deeper problem with Democrats.
There's a big problem, by the way, because it's a problem that affects all of us, not just as women, not just as citizens of the United States of America, but as taxpayers, to the tune of, $17 million that they have paid out to cover these harassment claims, and we don't even know who they were paid out for or why they were paid out, Patrice.
Where is the accountability? Where is the transparency? I mean, we've had legislation that was instituted in, 1995 to supposedly bring this kind of transparency and accountability, and it didn't happen. Unfortunately, we have an even darker cloak over the processes that, victims have to go through when they want to come forward, and it allows predators who are elected officials to get away with it. This is intolerable. Regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, this is not a partisan issue. It should be an issue about dealing with the character of people who are in our higher serving offices of government.
Well, I don't want to tarnish all Democrats here, because here's a Democrat, Kathleen Rice, on CNN saying, yes, these guys should resign. Watch.
So you want both Conyers and Franken to resign?
I think they should. And I think that that's what most people feel would be an appropriate consequence for these elected officials.
Yeah. Duh. I mean, we know the Al Franken picture. We've all seen it. The height of impropriety, a disgusting picture with him going after a sleeping woman, thinking somehow that's funny. I mean, if that's not grounds enough, Patrice, I mean, at least some Democrats are calling them out. But, the one that should be is the one that's standing up for the party, Nancy Pelosi, that really represents the party and represents women. And she's really struggling on this issue.
She is. And what's interesting is that those who are not in party leadership, those who are kind of outside of the mainstream of the Democratic Party, they're saying, what's going on here? We've been marching for women's rights for so long, but women's rights are being ignored for the sake of party power. And this is not going to sit well. I think this is just another instance where I think the Democratic Party really needs to take a look at their own heart. Republicans certainly don't escape either. I think this is, as I said, this is a bipartisan issue.
Agreed.
But you need some level of accountability once the allegations have been proven to be true. We do want to ensure that that they're not false allegations. Right. But once it's proven to be true, then there needs to be some real accountability, and it shouldn't just be a little nudge out of a cushy seat in a committee of Congress.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Patrice. Well said. All right, the showdown, everyone.